Hey everybody, Denver Riggleman here. It's been a bit. It's been a minute because I've been in Ukraine. Went straight from the UAE to Ukraine. What I want to talk about today, and again, this is Denver Riggleman, your favorite former congressman, is about the drone wars here. What happened in Russia with the deep penetrating strikes of drones, and what I've seen here. Um, it's really hard to put into words. Talking to the Ukrainian people and their resilience, how completely committed they are to the cause, especially those I've talked to virtually around Ukraine. And I just want to tell everybody, you can read the articles, people comparing the Russian drone strike or the Ukrainian drone strike against Russian bombers and strategic assets, which have been estimated at 34% of their strategic fleet gone. Even Russian bloggers are referring to it as Pearl Harbor, as an equivalent. And here in Ukraine, you have the same type of sentiment. And for me to be able to see the Ukrainian sentiment here in country has been absolutely incredible. Not only that, I have been into Kherson, right? I am in Mykolaiv now. And last night, there were sirens, right? Raid sirens going off at about 3:30, 3:40 in the morning. You haven't lived until you hear a drone finder go off. I've seen things you wouldn't believe. And I think what we're looking at is the resilience of the Ukrainian people, but also their tactics. The U.S. should be here learning from the Ukrainians, not the other way around. There's a new war coming. And right now, what I fear for America is that we will not be able to stand up to what the Chinese are actually learning right now. Everybody talks about the Russians having this critical hit yesterday. They do. But I know here in Ukraine, Russia is learning from the Ukrainians and how to be more effective in utilizing drones on the battlefield. Now, you can look at all the types of drones, right? But the ones that really strike fear into so many are FPV drones. And you need to look up FPVs. But really, even the payloads are changing. There are thermal drones. There are things happening now that 3 years ago have changed the war to a point that you have drone on drone warfare with incredible outfits out there and units executing this drone warfare with new tactics and TTPs that the United States can't understand or don't understand because we're putting $1 billion or $1 trillion into other types of activities. We need to be here side by side with the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are fighting an evil in Putin that's much easier to understand if you actually come here. That's why if J.D. Vance or any of the congressional representatives are afraid to get their puckered tiny asses out here to see what's happening in the real world, they will be unable to make decisions because they're just going to be towing behind the draft that's Donald Trump and his ridiculousness and his inability to understand any comprehensive foreign policy or to understand that there is good and evil in the world. The disinformation about Ukraine that's put out by the far right is so ludicrous as to be laughable. But you have to remember they're pumping disinformation into the same group of 77 million voters that believe the 2020 election was stolen and believe in bizarre globalist and deep state conspiracy theories, even to the point that there's members of the Republican Congress who believe that 9/11 was an inside job. I've always warned about fantasy-based policy, and that's what we have in the United States right now. And instead of looking at the reality of the world situation, what's happening in Ukraine, we're looking at bullshit. So let's be fucking blunt here. I'm here. We're here. There's other Americans here. There's Brits here. I have met Sean Penner. I have met the people that have been taken, right, by the Russians and have been tortured in captivity. I've seen the scars. I've talked to them. I am here. We've heard about the basement. I'm going to talk to some people about that today. We've talked to the resistance. We've talked to people that have had things to say that would blow you away at a strategic and tactical level. But here's the bottom line. There's a new type of warfare coming. Russia's not gone. Russia's learning from the Ukrainians. Their drone capabilities are increasing every day. They have the ability to scale in a way that the Ukrainians don't. So here's what needs to happen. America needs to inject as much aid as we can into Ukraine. There needs to be a new administration. There needs to be a new Congress. There needs to be a new way of looking at the world. And that new way in the U.S. is facts-based. The new way in the U.S. to look at the world is facts-based. It's very difficult emotionally to put into words what I've seen here the last 4 to 5 days. I can play the air raid sirens for you. I can share the pictures and the videos. I can make it to a point that you couldn't believe that the people still go about today. Let me give you an example. Our drone finder was going off in a certain area here in Ukraine. Now, it could have been friendly drones. I know a little bit about it. Sometimes it's Wi-Fi signals and things like that. But we knew there were drones in the area, as will tell you that while I was there, drone strikes were happening about 2 kilometers from my position while I was interviewing people and didn't even know about it. I was in a certain area in a pub that was very difficult to hear anything in. So that's what was happening. I was there. I was there. And there's babushkas and people walking around just like it's another normal day. And drone strikes are happening right down the road. You can't imagine the resilience and the courage of the Ukrainian people, the sons and daughters that they've lost, the brothers and sisters that they've lost, the mothers and fathers that they've lost. We are in a new world. The strike against Russia from Ukrainian drones, remotely piloted, that took out 34% of the strategic fleet, billions and billions of dollars of assets. It's a new world. It's drone on drone. Everybody thought about Terminator in 1984 or 85, whenever that movie was made. They were worried about the robots. It ain't the fucking two-legged robots you have to worry about. It's going to be AI swarm drones. It's going to be FPV drones. It's going to be thermal drones. It's going to be SAR drones. It's going to be larger and larger payload drones, larger and larger range drones. There's so much I could talk about. I'm trying to be cool because I also know a little bit about the U.S. drone program. But if the U.S. isn't learning from Ukraine, Russia and China will. And the one country that's really learning from this is China, because guess who makes all the damn drones? This is Denver Riggleman. We better get our head out of our ass. It's going to get worse before it gets worse. But Slava Ukraini, and I'm telling you right now, we need to learn from them right now, not Ukraine learning from the U.S. Everybody have a good day.